Hi, you're watching West Bloomfield 911. I'm Officer David McNealy, and on behalf of Chief Michael Patton and my Deputy Chief Kurt Lawson and my brothers and sisters in blue, I would like to welcome you all to the show. This is my partner,
Zena, Dailey.
I would like to welcome Craig Bryson. Mr. Bryson, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to
Mr.
be
Bryson,
here.
stay with us for a minute while I flip the show over to Zena's Daily on the Daily.
Hello, West Bloomfield. Welcome to Daily on the Daily. Let's start with Ask a Cop a Question. And this question comes from Allie T from the WB. What should I do when I get pulled over? Well, Allie, slow down, pull over to the right. If you want to pull over into a parking lot or a side street, that would be best, right? It would alleviate traffic. But if you're afraid because it's late at night, don't be afraid to pull over on the main road, but as far right as you can. You want to make sure you stay in your vehicle and you keep your hands where we can see them. Steering wheel is always the best because we don't know what's in your car, who you are, or what you're doing. Typically, we'll ask for your license, registration, and your insurance, and just make sure you tell us and let us know where you're reaching for those items, whether they're in your purse, in the glove box, or if you have your wallet in your back pocket, you need to reach for that to get your license out. If you are a CPL holder and you're carrying, please make sure you let us know. It's required for you to let us know. If you're not carrying and you are a CPL holder, you don't actually have to let us know unless you're carrying. And hey, feel free to ask the officer why you got pulled over if you don't know or if they haven't already told you. Allie, thanks for the question. Be like Allie T from the WB. Like us on Facebook, West Bloomfield Police Department. Throw a question on there for us and we'll try to answer that for you too. Moving on, today we're going to talk about seatbelt laws. Typically we get asked about child car seat laws and safety belt laws for the most part, but we'll talk about a handful of them and then we'll get to that as well. So one of the safest choices you can make as a driver and as a passenger is to be buckled up. A total of 22,441 passenger vehicle occupants died in motor vehicle crashes in 2015. More than half of teens 13 to 19 years old and adults 20 to 44 who died in traffic crashes in 2015 were unrestrained at the time of the crash. Seatbelts reduced serious crash-related injuries and deaths by about half, and in 2015 saved almost 14,000 lives. It's just as important to wear your seatbelt properly. So what that means is don't wear it under your arm and don't wear it behind your back. Some of you have probably been cited for that because as long as you're wearing it properly, you're still putting yourself at risk. 4 things you should know about buckling up. It is the single most effective thing you can do to protect yourself in a crash. The airbags are not designed to work separately, so they are supposed to work in conjunction with your seatbelts. That's how they work properly. Make sure you're properly buckling up, which like I said before, don't wear it under your arm or behind your back. And make sure that your seatbelt fits properly. Something I just learned a couple years ago. Your dealer will actually provide you an extender or an adjuster if it doesn't fit you properly. And if you're driving an older or classic car, you can actually contact the manufacturer and they'll try to retrofit it for a shoulder and lap belt. If you're pregnant, you should still wear a seatbelt and it is still recommended. The single most effective thing to do is by wearing it, it'll protect you and your baby. Make sure that you're wearing it kind of away from your neck, but not off your shoulder, and just goes right across your chest. And then make sure that it's you get all the slack out underneath. It'll be at your hip bone, at the hip and pelvic bone, very securely. Just make sure you don't put it on your belly or on top of your belly. And then of course try to seat in an upright position. Have your seat as far from as possible so that your belly and the steering wheel have quite a distance as much as possible, which I know can be difficult, but as much as you can while you're still comfortable. And now getting into the child seatbelt laws. Children younger than 4 years of age are to be in a car seat in the rear seat of a vehicle, buckled up. If you have used up all your rear seats, a child in a car seat can be sitting in the front seat, again, buckled up properly. Seatbelt should still go through the little hook that's on your seatbelts if it's a booster seat. A child in a rear-facing seat can ride in the front seat only if the airbag is turned off. And children must be properly buckled in a car seat or booster seat until they're at the age of 8 or 4 feet 9 inches tall. So again, that's 8 years old or 4 feet 9 inches tall, whichever comes first. All passengers under 16 years of age in any position of the vehicle must be buckled up. And all front seat passengers, regardless of age, must be buckled. Some of the common car seat mistakes that we see are 1, not having the harness strap tight enough. 2, the car seat itself isn't installed tight enough. 3, moving the child to the next step, which I know is common. A lot of people are ready to get their kid out of that bulky car seat into a slimmer booster seat, but you want to make sure that you're following the height and weight limits before you move up. And the chest clip is too low. You want to make sure that chest clip is at the child's armpits to ensure that the straps remain in the correct position. So it should be right up here. And then 5, taking the kids out of their car seats too early. So I know the kid wants to be a big kid and they don't want to, sit in their car seat anymore, and they want to be able to even sit in the front seat. That's at the age, if you're under the age of 13, you're still putting your child at risk. They're just not made for the airbag impact, so they really should just still be in the back seat buckled up. And you can find out more information on child seat or just seatbelt laws at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration website. That's www.nhtsa.gov, and search safety belts. Back to you, Dave.
It's a lot of great information. Thanks,
Thank
Zee. Mr. Bryson, we're going to take a short station break. Folks, stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching West Bloomfield 911 on Civic Center TV, a service of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission. For more information or to watch episodes on demand, visit civiccentertv.com/WB911. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
After the tragic loss of an officer in the line of duty, Michigan Concerns of Police Survivors provide support to surviving law enforcement families and co-workers. To learn more about My Cops and upcoming events, or for information on how you can help, visit micops.org or call 877-464-2677.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. I'm David McNealy.
I'm Zena Dailey.
I'd like to welcome back Craig Bryson. He's the Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission for Oakland County. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's okay to call you Craig.
Please do.
Folks, we got him here. He's with the Commission for the Roads for Oakland County. So, what new projects do we have, Craig?
Well, we've got a lot of stuff going on. As you know, we're finishing up Orchard Lake Road here in West Bloomfield Township. Next year, we will finish up Maple Road from Drake to Halstead. That'll be the final segment of Maple Road that we widen to 3 lanes and resurface.
Wow. Nice.
And we'll get done Orchard Lake Road yet this year. As you probably know, we've resurfaced Halstead Road and Drake Road in West Bloomfield this year. Did some concrete repair work in Kego Harbor on Cass Lake Road. So a lot of work been going on.
We had a water main break recently. How does that impact you guys? What involvement do you have at this point?
Well, fortunately, at this case, that has nothing to do with us.
Okay.
We dodged a bullet. 14-mile road.
A big bullet.
A
Yeah.
big bullet, absolutely. In this case, 14-mile road is actually under the jurisdiction of the city of Farmington Hills, not
Okay.
the road commission. So,
okay.
no involvement.
You got lucky there.
Yes.
So that's why we see part of their roads handled by their trucks. Is that what you're saying? For the
Absolutely.
viewers?
The way road jurisdiction works in Michigan is there's 3 levels of jurisdiction: the state, the road commission or the county, and the cities and villages. Townships, by law, do not have jurisdiction over roads. So all roads in West Bloomfield Township, unless they're a state highway, which there aren't any in West Bloomfield Township,
Right.
are road commission roads. However, in Farmington Hills and other cities and villages, when they incorporated, we negotiated with them which roads to take over. So we have some of the mile roads in Farmington Hills, but not 14-mile.
Okay.
And in the cities and villages, the cities have all of the subdivision streets or local roads, whereas we do all of those in West Bloomfield Township and all the other townships in the county.
Just switching gears back to you for a minute. How long have you been with the county?
20 years.
Okay, and have you always served in this position? What exactly is your position for the viewers?
Right, so I'm the Senior Communications Manager. I started out as the Public Information Officer, and I still do that capacity, but I do all the internal and external communications, media relations. So I work with the reporters when there's questions, or trying to share information about what we do with the public through the media, through our websites, our social media opportunities. We do all the printed materials that the Road Commission creates for the public, brochures, flyers, that type of thing. Anything communication related, we do internal communications, newsletters. We do newsletters for public officials, newsletters for employees, occasionally newsletters for a specific project, that type of thing.
Okay.
So let me ask you some questions that even in the winter I ask. Although I probably know the answers to, but I want to hear from you.
Sounds good.
So it's snowing, it's below freezing, and I'm sitting here thinking, why aren't the salt trucks out here? Where are you guys?
Right, and odds are we probably are out if it's actually snowing. One of the things people don't realize is that we maintain 2,700 miles of roads across the county. It's the largest county road system in the state. And when we're at what we call full run coverage, which is our full contingent of winter maintenance vehicles on the road, that's 106 trucks. So you can do the math. I mean, at any given time, the likelihood of a truck being within your line of sight or even on your drive, actually seeing one of our trucks is probably relatively low. And it depends on the time of day, day of the week, and type of storm. We have a very detailed set of regulations that govern how many trucks we send out, at what time. It's determined by the time of the day. So in the middle of the night, we're going to have fewer trucks out than at rush hour. Rush hour is obviously the highest point.
So I'm going to jump on to Z's question.
Please do.
How do you guys monitor temperatures and know when the trucks need to come out? Tell the viewers, because I know that, like Z's question, I want to know too.
Absolutely.
Like, why aren't you there at certain times and when the snow flies and when it seems like it's at its peak of snow? You know, I know there's trucks out there, like you said, but tell the viewers.
Sure, and that's a great question. So we have, on a rotating weekly basis, what we call the snow duty officer. That's one of, I think there's 5 people now that rotate in their management position who's experienced in road maintenance. And their job for the week that they're on duty, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for that 7 days, is to track our weather forecasting services. We have services that we hire specifically for us that are road-related weather forecasters.
Now, they work for the county also, those people?
No.
That monitor the weather? Or how does
yes, they're road commission employees. They're our management people. We have the director of our highway maintenance department, the second in command of our highway maintenance department, our central operations department director, those types of people who have been in the business for a long time, know our business, know our agency. And so they make those calls, and they monitor the forecasting services that we subscribe to. They monitor the television and news media. We have our own remote weather stations at our 3 remote garages. We get information directly from NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They have a weather station at White Lake Township, and they provide us information directly from there, as well as from the National Weather Service in Washington.
I think that's a resource that we use. I'm a crash investigator too, and there are times when we have crashes and we get the temperature and things like that and monitor the road conditions and stuff like that, so we use them too.
Yep. And what makes it challenging too is, we're a county of 900 square miles. Yeah. We can have sometimes significantly different weather conditions at 8 Mile than we have in Holly Township, for example.
Absolutely.
So we have to not only monitor the regional weather conditions, we have to monitor the weather conditions
on a local level.
Doesn't it always seem like it's snowing here?
That's right.
I drive from my house, I'm coming from the east side, and I drive, I'm like, no snow. All of a sudden, I'm in the snowstorm. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, you're in West Bloomfield, and it's like a pocket.
Yeah.
True. And the M59 corridor seems to be kind of a magnet for snow too. We'll often have times where we've got snow focusing in the M59 corridor, but nothing north of it, or in some cases, nothing south of it.
Yeah.
So we do that. Then we have, as I said, we have winter maintenance guidelines, which is a booklet that's literally this thick that outlines exactly how many trucks are to be called in exactly every imaginable condition. And it depends on what type of snow we're getting, how long the snow is expected to last.
So Craig, let me stop you for a minute. As a crash investigator and a traffic guy for years, there's certain areas of our township, like where we had where you guys or the state would send out the highest crash area, say in Oakland County. Particularly, there's an area that I recall as being in traffic was like Long Lake and Middle Belt area. Do you guys monitor those areas specifically, like if we mark on a UD10 crash report, ice was a condition? Do you guys monitor that?
We monitor the crash reports very closely. Safety is our top priority as an official policy.
Excellent.
So we monitor all crash reports from every police agency in the county, and we track where the crashes occur, and we read the reports to find out, was the crash weather related?
Sure.
Was there something in the design of the road that affected it?
Okay.
And if so, is there something we can correct? Was there a traffic signal issue?
And you guys do that also?
We do.
You guys would adjust the signal, just so our viewers know, you guys would adjust that signal to say allow someone to turn a couple seconds more Okay, excellent.
And in this case, in our case, we're one of the most advanced traffic signal systems in the country. The system itself actually monitors traffic. It actually counts cars in all directions and determines on a split-second basis in real time what the best traffic signal timing is for that signal at that moment, depending on how many cars are going in each direction. So if there's a heavy movement northbound at evening rush hour, it's going to give more green time to the northbound traffic.
So it also knows when we're
That is
sitting
so crazy,
there,
yeah.
when we're sitting there by ourselves, like, and what's going on with this light?
Right.
Like, how come it hasn't cycled yet?
That's right.
It knows we're there.
It does.
Wow.
It does. Yep.
And Oakland County is one of the safest road-wise.
We are, and we're pretty proud of that because that didn't used to be the case. If you look back to 1967, it was just the opposite. We had a higher traffic crash fatality rate than the state as a whole and the country as a whole. And everybody's come down, in the last 40
I know
years
Orchard
because
Lake
of
and Maple was ranked up there for a long time when I was in traffic, and I think Orchard and 14 Mile were two of the intersections that I recall that we used to really emphasize enforcement.
But there's
in
a
those
distinction there. One of the distinctions that we like to make is there's crash volume and crash rate. So the crash volume is the total number of crashes.
Okay.
And we know that any intersection that has a lot of traffic is going to have more crashes.
Right.
The less traffic, the fewer crashes. So we have busy intersections like Maple and Orchard Lake or 14 and Orchard Lake, they're going to have higher crashes. But we're more interested, though, is the crash rate, which is the number of crashes per 100 million miles of vehicle travel. And so if you have a busy intersection which has more crashes than a lower intersection, but a lower crash rate, we don't consider it as dangerous. So from a crash rate perspective, neither one of those intersections is outrageously bad.
Right.
No crash is good, and we want zero crashes. But we also want to look at the crash rate and make the improvements where we can, where there's a serious rate issue.
So is that where the roundabouts came from, like on 14,
Absolutely.
Northwestern, Orchard area? Is that why that was put
Well,
in there?
there's two reasons we like roundabouts. One is safety. That's the first and the foremost. And the safety statistics are just amazing.
It was a slight spike when they first came in. There was a slight spike.
Yes.
And then once everyone got used to them, dramatically dropped off.
But it was a spike in non-injury crashes.
Sure.
It was,
Yeah.
it was
Right.
fender benders.
That's right.
And the federal statistics, the state statistics, 90% reduction in fatalities when we replace a traffic signal with a roundabout. I mean, there's nothing else we can do as a road agency that reduces fatalities for 90%. If we sometimes see a slight increase in fender benders, we don't like that, but as a trade-off for far fewer fatalities, that if people go home at night, that's worthwhile.
Sure, a bump versus a fatal.
Exactly.
We'll take the bump.
Absolutely.
Right, and if you think about it, that's one of the main things the roundabout does. In urbanized areas like Oakland County, the places that people die in crashes is at intersections, and they die in two ways. Head-on collisions or T-bone collisions where somebody's turning, and you guys know this better than anybody, I'm sure.
Sure.
And people turning left and getting broadsided. A roundabout makes it almost physically impossible to have either of those types of crashes. So it virtually eliminates the possibility of a traffic fatality. Yes, you can come in too fast and sideswipe somebody, but you're going to walk away from that, odds are. Or you might not see somebody ahead of you going slower and you might rear end them. But again, you're going to walk away from that.
Are we going to be seeing more of those, and not just in West
Absolutely.
Bloomfield, but through the county?
Absolutely. We just 2 weeks ago finished one at Napier and 10 Mile on the Novi-Lyon Township border. Next year, we're going to build two in Orion Township on Baldwin Road, potentially a third in Oakland Township.
Now, Craig, you guys are doing that based on the studies you've got.
Yes.
And showing that it's safer.
Absolutely.
So people, be patient. Be patient.
Yeah.
This is for your own good. It's like medicine. It's for your own good.
That's right. It's not only safer, the other thing we like about them is the traffic flow. What all the studies indicate is that you can increase the capacity of a road by 30 to 50% by replacing the traffic signal with a roundabout, as opposed to widening a road, which is vastly more expensive. So they're a great bang for
Where
the buck.
can somebody research that stuff if they want to look at it? Is it on your guys' website?
We have some links to it. We are not a research agency, so we rely on the Federal Highway Administration does a ton of research on roundabouts. A lot of the state agencies do that. MDOT does some, but for example, the Maryland Department of Transportation does a huge amount of research on roundabouts, and that information is pretty universal.
You said MDOT. How often do you guys work with them? And I've got to ask about 75.
Absolutely.
The viewers would be mad at me if I don't ask you about that.
We work with them literally on a daily basis throughout the different activities within the Road Commission. Our traffic people work with their traffic people. Our construction people work with their construction people. Our communications people work with their communications people. Our managing director meets quarterly with the director of MDOT. So we have constant communications with them.
Now, does it work with other counties as well? Like, do you guys communicate with, like, if we are one of the best counties right now in the world, like, does Macomb County contact you guys? Does Genesee, do they figure out, hey, how could we implement what you're implementing, the smart traffic signals? How can we get those, you know, does everybody have those, or do you guys work with them?
We work with them. We were the first in Michigan, and actually one of the first in the nation to have the type of system we have. Macomb came on board about 10 years ago. We've had the system for 25 years now. So Macomb has done a nice job. They're catching up, but we talk to those people all the time too, all of the surrounding counties, as well as actually all the other county road agencies in the state. We're very active in the County Road Association, which is, you know, we meet very frequently with road commissions from the UP to Monroe to Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, Kent, and Genesee. I mean, we
all work together.
Yeah.
One thing I was curious about too is as we ramp up towards the season that we're going into, your staffing. How do you guys do that, and how do you end up taking care of your employees? Because I know they're what we'd say burning the midnight oil.
They are.
How do you take care of those guys and gals, and how do you get them ready?
Well, that's a great question. And as you probably know, during the recession, our funding, which comes from state gas tax and vehicle registration
That's
fees,
another thing that we want to talk about too.
it went down dramatically. So our staffing went down. We cut our staff by 35%. We're fortunate to do it by attrition, but we're still, a lot fewer bodies to put in trucks.
Yeah.
We're down now about 27% from where we were in 2007. But so what we looked at doing is how do we meet the needs, especially in the winter when we have to have snowplows out. So I think it was 5 or 6 years ago we started hiring part-time temporary drivers to help out. This year we're looking to hire 35 to 40 additional licensed drivers to drive the big snowplows on a part-time temporary basis during the winter. And that's really helped to augment our forces when we can't
And
afford
what are their
full-time.
qualifications have to be to?
They have to have a commercial driver's license with an A endorsement, or a CDLA. And we are hiring right now if anybody has those qualifications. We're looking for experience driving a truck.
Can they go to your website? What's your website?
Absolutely. It's www.rcocweb.org, rcocweb.org.
Now, do you ramp up your hiring just for the winter season, or do you seasonal also, like summertime help? How does that work?
We are hoping to get. We used to hire a lot of seasonal help in the summer. We stopped doing that when the budget took a hit. We're hoping to start doing that again in the not too distant future. But we're also at the point where we have a lot of employees who have been with us a long time and will be retiring. So we are also needing to fill positions through attrition. So one of the great things is a lot of those part-time drivers, we get to know them over the course of the winter. They get to know us. If we look like they'd be a good fit for us, then we can offer some of them full-time jobs, as the positions become available.
That's cool.
So kind of what Dave said, so then budgeting concerns, funding, none of that really affects, like if the roads need to be salted or potholes need to be filled, because that's part of you guys, right?
Yep.
That still gets done regardless of budgeting and funding. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Those two, anything that's safety related that we do gets done. Those we will cut other places if we have to get the salting and plowing done. And the
Well, I'm
winters,
sure the viewers appreciate hearing you say that, so that's good.
yeah, absolutely. And the pothole patching. I mean, that's also a safety activity.
And on that note, so if someone sees a gigantic pothole or one that they see in an area that we're getting a lot of flat tires, who do they contact?
Please call or email us immediately. If it's one where people are getting flat tires, please call us. The phone number is toll free. It's 877-858-4804. Please call us right away. Obviously, we can't be everywhere at once, so a lot of times.
Sometimes we'll end up sometimes we end up sitting out with them, and your crews end up showing up, which is good for us. We're happy. I mean, they've gotten so huge sometimes where we put cones out and flares out just to alert people after we've gotten several flat tires in the area, just trying to get people to slow down in the area.
And we appreciate that you are able to come out and make sure more people don't get their cars damaged or anyone to be injured as a result.
Is there reimbursement for that?
Very rarely. What the state law says is that we have to have known about the issue for at least 30 days and didn't do anything about it.
Okay.
It's rare that there's a pothole that is big enough to cause damage.
So is the way we currently patch the potholes, is that the best method that we can use right now?
It's the best method given the restrictions we have to operate under, which is that we have to do them as fast as possible, because there are a lot of, we do that literally almost every day of the year.
How many crews are out doing that?
It depends on what else is going on, but in the peak of pothole season, which is typically in the spring when there's the freeze-thaw cycles, we can have 12 to 18
Can you explain
crews.
what you just said to the viewers, the freeze-thaw?
Sure.
And how that affects the roadway so that they don't just think it's the plows, because I've heard some people say that they think the plows are scraping
Right.
the roads and causing the damage, and I don't think that's true.
Right, no, and actually there are two very real causes of potholes. One is, as you mentioned, the freeze-thaw cycle. We're in a band that goes across, it's called the Niagara Band, that goes across from essentially Niagara Falls across the top of Ohio and southeast Michigan, you know, and across the
Right.
Midwest, where there is greater freeze-thaw fluctuations in weather cycles than anywhere else in the country. And that freeze-thaw cycle is terrible on roads, on concrete and
I
asphalt.
was going to say, does it matter if it's concrete, asphalt? Does it matter?
Theoretically,
it still affects it.
Right. Theoretically, concrete lasts longer, but when concrete gets towards the end of its design life, it starts to
How
crumble.
long
and
is
fall
its
apart.
design life?
Theoretically, 20 to 30 years. We have concrete roads in the county now that are more than 40 years old that are still functioning.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but the other problem that causes potholes is funding. I mean, it's not something people think of directly, but we have not been able to rebuild roads the way we should have because our funding has been, and we've been in the bottom 10 states in the nation since at least 1964 in per capita state and local road funding in Michigan. We have not invested in our roads like almost every other state has. And when we don't rebuild and repair the roads, they crumble, and the result is potholes.
Why are we doing asphalt more than concrete?
There,
Because I see that more and more now.
yes, and there's a number of reasons. A lot of times, the quicker short-term repairs are asphalt, and people think, well, why don't you just rebuild the road? Well, if you think about the life cycle of a road, oftentimes if you build a concrete road, the concrete road stays in place for 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. In order to get the longest life out of that road, you then have to seal it again, and oftentimes that means a thin layer of asphalt, 1.5 to 2 inches of asphalt, and that buys you for a relatively low cost another 10, 15 years, sometimes 5 to 15 years, depending on conditions, of life out of that road for a very cost-effective investment, much less than if we actually went in. I mean, we're talking the
Tear it
difference
out.
between millions of dollars
Yeah.
and tens of thousands of dollars to resurface an asphalt as opposed to reconstructing a road in concrete.
So you
Makes
hear
sense,
you
yeah.
hear the myth that the trucks also damage the roads.
Well, I don't want to say that's not true either. We do have in Michigan the heaviest truck weight law of any state in the nation. However, what the mechanical engineers will tell you is what's more important than the gross weight of the truck is the weight per axle. So we allow double the weight of any other state in the nation, but we also require twice as many axles. So the weight per axle is actually less in Michigan. Now there's debate about whether, if a truck hits a bump and all of its weight comes down, whether that spread out over the axles makes any difference or not. But the other part of the question is if you eliminated that 164,000 pound truck allowance, which is double the rest of the nation, you would have to move that freight onto at least 2 or 3 smaller trucks. So we would increase
Right.
the total number of trucks on the road, and those smaller trucks have the same amount of weight per axle. So, is it really doing any
Right.
better?
Again, we're going to go back to the roads because I'm, like I said, a former traffic guy. So, and I know everyone used to like to throw tomatoes at me. Tell the viewers something that none of us knew, that you acquired this knowledge after you started working about roads.
Sure. Well, and going back to potholes, a great point that most people don't realize is there are different types of material you can use in the summer and the winter. There's hot patch in the summer and cold patch in the winter. People say, why do you patch a road and the patch just falls out a day later? And occasionally that
That's what
does
I always
happen.
think.
But part of the problem is the weather conditions. You cannot use the same patching material in the winter when it's 5 degrees that you can use in the summer when it's 80 degrees, and the asphalt and the materials in it are more malleable. So we use a special mix that's designed for cold weather. Part of the problem is, though, you still have melting snow or ice in the pothole, and
Right.
the best material in the world is not going to adhere well when there's liquid or water in the hole. So we do the best we can, but people also ask, why don't you then come with an air gun and blow the water out of the hole? The problem is, we're going as fast as we can because there are so many potholes to try to patch as many as we can. If we stopped, blew the material out, swept it out, cleaned it, put the pothole patch in, made sure it was absolutely perfect, we would not get anywhere near enough of the potholes done, and more people would have, damaged cars,
Right.
and there could be more crashes because people swerve to avoid potholes.
So, Craig, we're going to be wrapping up the show here. Tell the viewers how they can get a hold of the Road Commission, again, if they have questions about anything that we just got done talking about, the roads, salt trucks, etc., potholes. If you just give the phone numbers and emails out again. I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. So the phone number toll free, 877-858-4804. And our website is www.rcocweb.org. We also have a Facebook page. Just search for the Road Commission on Facebook. You can ask questions there as well. We try to respond to that in a timely manner. We do value the input of the public. You know, there are eyes and ears out there when we can't be there.
Well, Craig, thanks for coming on. You hung in there pretty tough. We hit you with some tough questions, but we knew they got the right guy for the job. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.
You have all the right
Appreciate
answers today.
Thank you.
Guys, that's going to do it for us. You can keep up with the police department by liking us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also sign up for Nexel.com or Crime Mapping for the most up-to-date information regarding the police department. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.